It's not uncommon to read stories about, Christians being smeared. We all know that Christians are the only group of people that are okay to be the butt of every joke and to be constantly disparaged. Christians are facing persecution in America nearly every day and around the world at a far more deadly rate. And hardly anyone ever reports on it or seems to care. Now, while the mainstream media makes endless jokes at Christians' expense, while they fear to make those same jokes about certain other religions, but that's neither here nor there. I am from West Bend, Wisconsin, a small, sleepy town. I went to college my first 2 years in West Bend at the University of Wisconsin, Washington County, a small satellite school. That school has since, many years ago, basically closed down, probably because it wasn't making money. Ever since that school closed down, the state, my state, has been paying $300,000 a year to maintain the property, a property that is an empty building. Okay, 300,000 tax dollars per year going to this building. Well, a Christian school, one affiliated with many members of my family, wanted to buy this building. Everyone saw this who has a brain as an absolute win. Not only does the taxpayers stop having to pay $300,000 a year to maintain an empty building, but the city will get $3 million in exchange. My family is so deeply in belief of this cause, this Christian school, a Christian school wanted to buy this. They donated $100,000 of their own money to this school. 100 grand. Like, my family is not multimillionaires. We're not, this is a big deal to many members of my family. Now, the sale has been completed. $3 million to the, Ozaki Christian, it's going to be the Ozaki Christian School. Now, members of West Bend, the city where I grew up, and leftists, anti-church, atheists, demons, whatever you want to call them, not only are trying to block this sale, block the creation of a Christian school, but they are smearing the members of this church and my family, calling them racist, calling them bigoted, calling them sexist, calling them Christian nationalists, which I guess I don't really know if I think that's supposed to be an insult. I don't know if that necessarily is. This is, I've been talking to my cousin, who is a very nice young woman, family woman. She's very much involved in this church and school, wants to send her kids there, things like that, right? She attended a town hall recently. I'm just checking her text message so I get this right. She's the nicest, just like, I don't know how old she is. She's a nurse. She's much younger than me. I grew up with her. She's like a sister to me, okay? This is why I'm mad. I attended the town hall where people called us Christian nationalists, racist. Mind you, we are widely diverse, and the families we have in our church adopt from all over the world. And they said we were unable to help kids with special needs, even though I volunteer weekly with a blind girl in class, and we have children in wheelchairs and a girl who has no arms. It's a disturbing attack on Christ-centered education. They said we were oppressive to women. Meanwhile, the head of our school has been female for over 30 years. I asked, hey, this is insane. Let me lend a hand. Hopefully my viewers will share this story, maybe get involved if you're in the area. I asked, hey, has anybody been talking about this? Well, apparently a guy named Mark Belling has been talking about it as well. And she said, I never thought in Washington County, where we both grew up, a Christ-centered school would be completely outcast. And she said, if you're feeling led to talk about this, we'd be most grateful because we need donors if this deal doesn't go through. We talked about, the family. I don't think our family can hoist the entire $3 million. The thing is, they agreed to the sale. The county agreed to the sale. Then woke leftists came in and started to pretend like they cared about the fact that there weren't enough bidders on the building, right? Well, maybe a bunch of other people wanted to pay more money for the building. Maybe a bunch of these are all masked, fraudulent reasons to go against a Christ-centered school in the city. There are other Christian schools in the city, which is what's so crazy about this. They've been around obviously much, much longer. And religion now, those schools were around at least 30, 40 years ago when the attack on, faith and the church wasn't as strong as it is today. But here's the thing. The Washington County Board in late August approved negotiating the sale of the campus to the Ozaukee Christian School for $3 million. The deal drew some criticism for lacking a competitive bidding process and yielding an offer below the property's appraised value. Well, this is how real estate works. It's supply and demand. How many buyers are there for a $3, $4, $5 million university building that has been empty for years and costs hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to maintain? And that's probably the bare level of maintenance required. The same argument could be said for, how are they selling houses in downtown Detroit for $20? That's crazy. Those houses are worth $100,000, $200,000. Well, how many buyers are there? That's just the free market, right? So people are saying, again, the closure left the city and the county, when the university closed, with an 80-acre property and a 200,000 square foot building that costs at least $300,000 in taxpayer revenue annually to maintain. You could make the argument that the city should have been trying to get this building gone years ago, right? Years ago, they should have been trying to get rid of this building. Now they have a problem with it because it's a Christ-centered school. And a bunch of busybodies are saying, oh, this deal reeks of cronyism. That's what one Wisconsin mom had to say. I wonder how she voted. You know what I mean? Look, there was never a line of people lined up through the door trying to buy this building in the first place. This school and, important organization for my family and their kids wanted to buy this building for $3 million US American dollars. And on top of that, so on top of the city getting that money, they would then be relieved of the nearly over $300,000 a year in taxpayer revenue we paid to maintain that building. This was an absolute win. If they would have given the building to the church, I would have supported it. And again, I'm a taxpayer. My mom lives there. I live in Washington County, right? I went to college there. I paid tuition there. I couldn't be more involved. My family donated $100,000 so the school could buy the building. All right. So this obviously hits close to home. I know I'm relatively new on my church journey, but I felt compelled to make this video about this. I felt compelled to share this story. The idea that this lawyer now is trying to get in from Hush Blackwell, trying to say, well, we want $1.2 million because a million years ago, we donated money to the university that isn't even open anymore, right? The university isn't even open anymore. This foundation had provided $1.2 million in funds. Now they want to be paid. No, I'm sorry. You donated that money. Okay, you donated that money to the school. That money was used. Why on earth do you think that you are due to get this money back? The business you donated that to is closed. You are not owed this money. There is this group of people that are trying to stop this. And I wanted to hear somewhat of these local clowns had to say. It just reeks of cronyism and a sweetheart deal at the taxpayer expense. Lady, all right? If you made it this far in the video, I'm being polite for my cousin. She's a sweet summer soul, and I wouldn't swear it in front of her. Cronyism? Lady, we're paying $300,000 a year for an empty building. If it burned down tomorrow, that would be a taxpayer benefit. You understand that, right? If that building burned to the ground tomorrow, they would get the insurance money and we would have to stop paying to maintain that building. you are not only getting off the hook of paying 300 grand a year, but you are getting $3 million. They're saying the county engaged in a non-traditional but widely publicized process in seeking ideas for the property, and the school's $3 million proposal was the best financial option. So they took the best option. This is a taxpayer, campus closure leaves county with empty building. This was closed back in June of 2024, citing a declining number of Wisconsin high school students, stagnant state funding and competition with nearby technical colleges. The city of West Bend closed the property. The city of West Bend, where I was born, where I go every weekend, okay, where my mom lives, owns the remaining 26%. Washington County owns 74% of the property, and the city itself owns 26%. I live in Washington County. I pay taxes here, and I went to college here. And and again, I support this Christian school that's going to go there. Now, if you want to read more about Ozaukee Christian, you can. It's at Ozaukee, Ozaukee, Christian.org. You could buy an apple pie to support them. This is a, Christ-centered education school, that's been around for 30 plus years. They help students with financial aid. On their website, you can go to their support, and if you feel compelled to donate, you can. Obviously, if you don't live in Wisconsin, I understand why maybe you don't want to. But these people who went to this town hall and said these heinous things about my family members are some of the worst people, and I feel so bad for them because they are not used to this kind of stuff. They just wanted a Christian school. And, I hear this stuff all day. There isn't anything anyone could say to me that would affect me emotionally anymore. I've been at this way too long. But no, this deal should absolutely go through. This ambulance chaser garbage law firm, in my opinion, Hush Blackwell out of Milwaukee, should suck an egg. And this foundation that's trying to stop this sale by demanding another $1.2 million to put it out of reach of the church to afford is a garbage organization, in my opinion. Okay. Now my voice is in. I'm going to be at that next town hall. And guess what? I've heard it all. These woke idiots that say this crap about my family and about the Christian school that they want for their kids, that they've put their hard-earned money in. I don't think they've dealt with somebody quite like me and my amazing viewers. And they're about to find out now. So I hope you're informed by this video. You can read more about this school at OzaukeeChristian.org. If you want to donate, you can. But the purpose of this video is not to drum up donations. But maybe buy a pie. That's how they do fundraisers. So I guess that's it. I just had to get that off my chest.